Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, should the Sixers trade for Marcus Smart to bolster that backcourt and bring in a player with a lot of high-level playoff experience? Also, a deep dive into the Sixers' hot start. Nick Nurse has this team playing great basketball. How's he doing it? Which players are performing? That's all coming up as well. First, though, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow the 76ers Now empire, closing in on 13,000 subscribers. And I'm going to be honest with you. The more subscribers that we get, more videos that we can do. I'm really busy covering the NFL right now, but with the NBA season underway and with how entertaining this Sixers start has been, I want to talk more Sixers. So show us some love, hit that sub button. You're a winner at the end of the day with year-round coverage. And with that, let's start the show. All right, I'm Chase Sr. This is 76ers Now. Hope all of you are having a fantastic Monday and your weeks are off to a good start. Want to start off with Marcus Smart. Could this be a smart move to trade for him? And the Memphis Grizzlies right now is a basketball team really struggling. And Marcus Smart has that identity of a player that really would fit well in the city of brotherly love. And when you look at the Sixers backcourt, yeah, Tyrese Maxey is balling at an all-star caliber level. Patrick Beverley has been called by Tobias Harris as one of the best teammates he's ever had. Marcus Smart, though, a very intriguing piece. And there's a lot of buzz right now on Twitter among Sixers fans that because the Grizzlies are off to this really slow start, he could be a trade candidate. Because by the time that Ja Morant comes back off that suspension, if the Grizzlies continue on this trend, their season's going to be done, and maybe they could look to deal Smart away. And now Philadelphia has the financial space to take on a contract like this, but also the player capital to send away with expiring deals to bring back a player of this caliber. More on Marcus Smart here. He's in the second year of a 4-year, $76 million contract. Very savvy, smart, tough, bulldog type of defensive player. He won Defensive Player of the Year in 2021, 2022. At the time, a little bit controversial because he did win it as a guard. I thought that maybe some other players could have been in the mix, like a Joel Embiid, but it went to him, and he played a critical role for that Celtics defensive attack. And then this offseason, Celtics realized that after losing to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, they'd been running it back and running it back and running it back with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. They wanted to make some changes to that roster, trading Marcus Smart, who was the longest tenured Celtic on that team, and a really pivotal player for that organization for so long. They thought that trading him away was going to be able to change things to a certain degree, and as we saw, they prioritized bringing in Kristaps Porzingis and a player like Drew Holiday. Why it makes sense for Memphis here, if the Sixers were to call that front office and inquire about Marcus Smart, with the Grizzlies' poor start, Ja Morant serving that 25-game suspension, Memphis could look to regroup at some point this season. Why it makes sense for Philadelphia here, in my estimation, DeAnthony Melton has really struggled as a starter this year. I think that he's better suited as a backup. So you bolster your starting lineup with Marcus Smart. You bolster that second unit with DeAnthony Melton. If you want to continue to play Kelly Oubre Jr. with that starting five, you can do that because his efficiency rating has been top 50 in the NBA up to this point. And this could make the Sixers a better and more all-around team. Melton's not going to take away from the minutes of Patrick Beverley either. You look at how both of these players stack up, and maybe you trade away Melton for a Marcus Smart if that's what you want to do. He did play with the Memphis Grizzlies, by the way, so level of familiarity with that organization. Marcus Smart, though, better player, 14 points per game to Melton's 7. Assists per game, 5.4 to 5. Steals per game, Smart still getting it done on the defensive end of the floor. Nearly 3 steals per night. DeAnthony Melton, 1.5. Field goal percentage at 47% for Smart. Melton is a better player, I'm telling you, than the 29% from the field and 27% from three-point range. But I think that he's going to be able to overcome that. Either way, he's not going to be a better player as compared to Smart. The difference here is the financials, right? Smart, a more expensive player because of what he's accomplished in his career. This year, a salary of $18.5 million. Following year, 19.9, and then in 2025, 2026, $21.3 million. So with that, if you had to pick a player, let's assume, right, that Melton's going out, Marcus Smart is coming in, or Smart is taking some of Melton's minutes, who are you rocking with if you're head coach Nick Nurse? MS for Smart, DM for Melton. Let me know down in the comment section. Coming up next here on the show, a deep dive, fascinating look at some statistical figures behind the Sixers' really positive start going into this Monday night game against the Washington Wizards. First, though, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. This is the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America, and it's the only DFS app that you should be using. My picks for some Monday night action. I'm going to go Paul George and Justin Herbert more than 4.5 three-pointers made and passing touchdowns. That's one of the specials that PrizePicks has to offer. I'm also going to rock with the Anthony Melton, more than 8.5 points, because I think that he's going to put that slow start in the rear view. He's due for a big night. And then Tyrese Maxey. All of this chatter over the last 2 games or so about him needing to be a little bit more aggressive. I think that Maxey is more aggressive. Ends up scoring more than 22.5 points against arguably the worst team in the NBA. So sign up today. It's a free app, and you get that $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Sixers off to a historical start. Now, I want to start there with this deep dive into how Philadelphia is faring right now. In yesterday's show, we talked about those Donovan Mitchell trade rumors, and I talked briefly about the impact that Nick Nurse has been able to have on this basketball club. More numbers really evidenced with that the 76ers, first team in NBA history to have 4 players averaging 20-plus points per game over a team's first 5 games of the season. Joel Embiid right now, 29-plus. Tyrese Maxey at 26-plus. Kelly Oubre Jr. averaging 21 per. And then Tobias Harris, kind of an underrated storyline up to this point, averaging 20 points per game. And among, what is this, Chip, the top 30? The top 30 highest rated players in the NBA right now. This is just an overall analytical rating. Look at this list here. Bunch of Sixers representing this club on this top 30 list. You have Joel Embiid in there at number 3. You have Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, and Kelly Oubre. You have all of those Sixers in the top 30 for the highest ratings in the NBA from an analytical sense. And then there's this from Sports Radio 94 WIP, and this is a big talking point in the early going of this season. It's the uptick in the assists that we have seen from Joel Embiid. I know he's never going to become Nikola Jokic, right? But becoming a better passer is something that he can improve upon. So far, he's been able to do that. What's interesting is that he wasn't utilized a lot as a passing big under Glenn Rivers. But Glenn Rivers on the Bill Simmons podcast, and we talked about this here on the show, was asked by Simmons how Embiid could get better. And he said involving his teammates a little bit better and staying healthy. Nick Nurse has changed this offense. It's now a more modern offense compared to the one that Glenn Rivers was running. And with Joel Embiid, he's being used in a sense on top of the offensive style in a way that's led to him being a better distributor of the basketball. He has doubled his assists per game so far up to this point this year. 7 assists per for Joel Embiid. It makes him a more dangerous player. Most importantly, though, it takes away the ball dying on some of those offensive possessions where he has the rock in his hands if he's able to find his teammates. He's getting double teamed so much throughout the NBA playoffs. That always means that somebody is open, right? And if the teammate can be found by Embiid and then finish with those open looks, that's what's helped this Sixers team be a lot better this year. Nick Nurse over Glenn Rivers has been such a clear and vast upgrade. We haven't seen an upgrade from one head coach to another in this town in a really, really long time. Like some people might be able to say Joe Girardi to Rob Thompson. You know, you had Doug Peterson winning the Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni has continued that momentum. Like, my goodness, like Doug Peterson coming in for Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly won double-digit games for 3 years. It has been a long, long time since we have seen a tactical coach come in here who can make in-game adjustments on the fly, change the offensive style, and then maximize the individual play on the court, player by player, like what Nick Nurse is doing right now over Glenn Rivers. You look at the Sixers rankings here as a team, points per game, number 6 in the NBA. Fast break points per game, 20.8. under Harden, under Embiid. Last year, ball would die, as I said, and it became a stagnant half-court offense. Now, they're getting out and gunning, and I love it. Average scoring margin, number 2 in the NBA. They're winning games by an average of 12 points, opponents' points per game. They're getting it done defensively. Number 4 ranking in the NBA at 104, and then their blocks per game, 7.4. That's effort, that's instincts, that's players being in the right place at the right time. All of this here, great news, a great signing, and that's why this Sixers team, one of the best in the NBA up to this point. The numbers do not lie. So show Nick Nurse some love for this great Sixers start. Type NN, his initials, down below in the comment section. As for Tyrese Maxey, what a start he's been able to get off to, right? And I love how Nick Nurse is not afraid to make adjustments, to be bold and try new things, but to push his players in a positive way. Tyrese Maxey the other day, on that Saturday matinee against the Phoenix Suns, got off to a slow start. The overall game that he was able to have, really, really impressive. But Nick Nurse said it's not enough. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive because him pushing the tempo, setting the tone, and dictating the pace and the complexion of the game, that's what makes us go. That puts the gasoline in our tank, and then we get moving. Nurse on Maxey saying it's not enough. He's too good to have a quiet first half. He's got to not get into those modes where he's not being more aggressive. I'm not criticizing him. I'm just trying to keep imploring that he needs to be more aggressive. He's too good at beating people off the dribble. He's too good of a shooter to not take more chances. And I completely agree. And that's why with my prize picks tonight, I'm smashing Tyrese Maxey more than 22.5 points. What's also interesting is how Maxey has been able to come alive in some of the big moments of a basketball game, and that's why I've been confident in him eventually turning into that legitimate number 2 alongside Joel Embiid. Love his clutch gene. I love how his blood pressure is never boiling. He always seems to be cool, calm, and collected, and that game against the Suns, a good example of that. How about that step-back 3 that he was able to stick with Kevin Durant's hand right in his mug, right? Maxey, first 3 quarters, 11 points. That fourth quarter, he turns in 11. Assist numbers, very good. A bad game for Maxey at this point, where Nick Nurse wanted to push him in the right direction, is 22 points and 10 assists. Absolutely love what I'm seeing from the kid, but how he's finishing games as well. He's been doing that all year. He's been doing that in the first 3 years of his NBA career. This is a good sign because the Sixers need Maxey if they want to continue at this acceleration to continue to be this co-star next to Joel Embiid. And that's why yesterday on the show we talked about if Maxey continues to play like this, do the Sixers really need to make a move? Or do they have all of these assets at their disposal and load up the treasure chest with all that money and that draft compensation and those players? Tyrese Maxey on his second half in that impressive win against the Suns, a Suns team that was without Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, but still, their depth pretty solid. The ball went through the net, he said. I think I was trying to be aggressive, though, honestly. Fourth quarter came. Joel asked me if I could finish the game. It's what I tried to go out there and do, whether that was making the right read and getting to assists, getting us to action and scoring the ball, so that's great. Sometimes trying to make the right play. There's a couple of times today the right play was for me to shoot, and I passed it, but, still trying to find that balance. My thing right now, I'm trying to pick my spots, when to be ultra aggressive and when to be able to get to the paint, get Joel shots, get Kelly shots, get Tobias shots, get them in the right spots too. I think I'm doing a solid job of it right now. I knew in the fourth quarter when they made a little run, that was time for me to be aggressive. Score the ball, find ways to get downhill or get to my own shot. That's how it kind of went. So what I think the takeaway there, at least for me, is Maxey is talking there about how he has to pick and choose his spots because he wants to get Embiid involved. He wants to get Tobias Harris involved. He wants to get Kelly Oubre the basketball. Can you imagine if James Harden was on this team? I think part of the reason why the offense is under Harden, they get so slow, stagnant, and they die, everybody's just kind of waiting around because Harden will dribble for 18 to 20 seconds of the shot clock, and then everybody's just kind of standing idly around the perimeter. And it's always difficult to kind of pick and choose your spots of when to get guys involved, especially, though, with a ball-dominant player. Now that you take that ball-dominant player away, everybody else is able to cook a little bit more. And I know that this Big Three era has changed how people look at acquiring stars, but right now I love the team component of how the Sixers are playing. And it's not like the Denver Nuggets had a number 3 star. No, a great player in Jokic, a superstar in Jamal Murray, and then outside of that, really good pieces. Could the Sixers follow that type of identity, which is what lifted Denver to a championship? Hopefully, we need it. Tyrese Maxey, a top blank guard in the NBA. Producer Chip, crushing it once again here on the show. He said Tyrese Maxey, best point guard in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely love it. If you want the Sixers to keep winning, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. Don't forget to subscribe. We appreciate y'all for watching, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.